This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so I hope you guys have had a chance to look at that CRC app and check it out a little bit. The Pesach, it's wonderful. Also, yeah, in the back here, also this booklet. We'll get there, but let's before we get to the kitchen, let's just take a quick look at the back of the book over here. You've also got, if you look on page 67, okay, you have your Passover approved products, right? OU products certified for year-round use and kosher Passover use, even without special Passover certification. Now, that's somewhat limited, meaning what that's doing is that's giving you the OU products to have an OU, right? Look, it's an OU book. As they say, business is business, right? But these are all OU certified things, which do not need special OU for Pesach on it. Most, yeah, right. So if you look on page 72, this is important. You have the Costco tilapia, you have the Kirkland tilapia loins, Atlantic salmon, salmon portion skinless, right? So all of the Kirkland salmon with the OU is basically on this list, right? So that is very helpful. It was funny this past Friday night, just Natalie and I at home, and we had a very simple meal, and we had fish, we had lentil soup, but we had fish, and then we had a salad with chickpeas and some green beans that Nalia roasted. And it's funny, we laughed to ourselves, like for Sfardim, this would be a Pesach meal, right? The green beans, not a problem. For us, we call it kitniyot, right? And then it's not, the chickpeas, I put my tchina on top of this, a problem. Chomes, a problem, right? Whereas for the Sfardim, it would have been a clear sailing. Okay, so this is helpful stuff. Okay. Then on page 82, you have your OU certified products. Okay. And then, right, okay, they started now on page 110 with the OU Kitniot and Matzah Ashira. Okay. Matzah Ashira, right, for Ashkenazim, Matzah Ashira means that it says here, look in the middle, page 67, matzah products baked with eggs, juice, or honey instead of water. Sounds tasty, right? That's why Ashkenazim don't eat it. Okay? So, yeah, right? So, Sephardic, they do, right? Ashkenazic, right? Not for those of Ashkenazic heritage, with the exception of small children and the infirm. You'll see boxes of egg matzahs, right? And that is for someone who is older, not well, or for children. Interesting.
Is it easier to digest that? Probably.
Perhaps, Stove. Yeah. Okay. Page 113. Let's take a look at that. That is pretty important. And that is very, very helpful. Okay. These are the non-food items. Okay. Consensus OU's poskim, rabbinic authorities, is that the following may be used on Passover without certification. Like I mentioned to you last time, we're looking through the CRC app, right? If you can find things that don't need special Passover certification, then you're paying the usual retail price, as opposed to paying a often somewhat inflated Passover price. I just saw there was a letter that the New York Attorney General sent out to the car wash companies, because in the past the car wash companies will all start raising their prices before Pesach, because all the Jews need to bring in their cars to get it vacuumed out and to get it cleaned for Pesach, right? And that, they said, it is illegal religious discriminatory practices. And they sent the Attorney General in New York sent out letters warning that do not do that. Do not try that. We're watching. Okay, aluminum foil, baking pans, bags, paper or plastic, body wash, candles. Okay, so in terms of soaps and stuff, body wash. Okay, cups, paper, plastic, deodorants, dishwashing detergents. Interesting, right? Dishwashing detergents, right? They will be selling these very watered down, not quite as effective kosher Passover dishwashing detergents. You don't need to get that. Okay. Other things that is a little more, right? Insecticides. Hopefully, no one's eating that. Okay. Laundry detergents, lotions, shampoos. Okay, shampoos are not an issue. But one second, some of those shampoos might have like wheat and stuff in that.
Like oatmeal?
Oatmeal. Why is that okay?
Because you're not eating
Not only are you not eating it, but it's not edible, right? It's not edible at all. Okay. Soaps that we saw. Okay. Toilet bowl cleaner. Okay, don't try this at home, right? Okay, right? But okay, oral hygiene, toothpaste, mouthwash, flavored lip treatment, lipstick, lip balms products. They disagree as to whether code certification of these items is required, both of passing your own, consult your rabbi. So on the Rabbi Idolitz's book, which we haven't gotten yet, but he will be, typically he drops it off. So there, in terms of mouthwash, he writes all Colgate and Listerine, Total Care, or zero alcohol, those or Scope, those can be used on Pesach, right? In terms of toothpaste, he says Colgate, Close Up, and Pepsodent, right? Those companies can be used with reckless abandon. Okay, so right, okay. Now, because of course, when it comes to these things that you're actually going into your mouth and is actually swallowing, and those are edible, right? Otherwise it'd be dangerous for us to brush our teeth with it. So that's where things um, get a little bit more. We have to be more careful. Okay, good. Okay, and also on that CRC app, we had also many things that were listed over there. Guidelines for medicine. Let's take a look at this over here on the bottom of page 113. Exercise extreme caution. Consult with doctor, rabbi before making a decision not to take a medicine. Right, a person is taking right a serious right. The real problem with medicine is you're talking about those syrupy cough medications, right, or kids Tylenol, stuff like that. That's syrupy and flavored. Okay, known and tested medications in the forms of creams, non-chewable pills, injections may be owned, used, consumed on Pesach, even if they contain chametz or kitnius. Why? Since they are inedible. This covers most medicines used by adults. If an equally effective chametz-free alternative is available, this should be used instead. Okay, it is permissible to grind. Now, let's say kids, right? So when it comes to the kids type of medication, that's often a problem. That's flavored, that's all that stuff. So it is permissible to grind pills and mix the powder into food items so that a child can take a medicine on Pesach, right? But you have to be careful that they're getting the correct dosage. Certain pills, the potency is compromised when you start to mess with it. Okay. Liquid medicines, chewable pills, pills coated with a flavored glaze are considered palatable, edible, and may contain chametz. Gel caps, right, also could be a problem because they contain often edible gelatin. Okay? All right. If possible, they should be replaced under the direction of a doctor with a non-chewable, uncoated pill. If substitution is not possible and the person is in a state of sakana, what does sakana mean? Danger or safek. Sakana, possible danger, doubtful danger. The medication may be owned and consumed. Not only that, but if it's sakana, then it has to be, right? That becomes the mitzvah. The same applies if the condition is not yet a suffix sakana, but may deteriorate to that point. Okay, a rabbi should be consulted as to whether it's preferable to purchase the medicine before or during Pesach, or as to how to dispose of the medicine once the danger passes. Okay, what's the idea of buying things before Pesach, guys?
So like with eggs, you want to own it before Pesach.
Eggs, milk, right? You could buy eggs, you could buy milk. It doesn't need to have kosher certification for Passover. It could even be the if you like the lactose-free milks, right? Those are also fine, right? But it should be bought before Pesach. Enough for Pesach should be bought before Pesach. Why is that?
Special certification.
But why? Why is it okay before but not during?
Because you're gonna do bedikat chametz and then like annul your chametz, and so if there's any chametz.
Well, that's not really going to work, right? Gabrielle's saying you're going to annul your chametz, but then I'm not annulling it. I'm keeping the fridge and I'm putting it to my cereal the next morning.
If there's a doubt.
The chickens ate comments. And then they laid eggs.
So the issue is that if there is any chametz at all, then it will become annulled, batel. But Pesach, there are a number of things that will, leniencies that we have normally. Batel b'shishim, 1 in 60 becomes annulled, right? But on Pesach, we don't have that. That's why we go a little bit overboard, right, in terms of the cleaning. Because even a single crumb, the slightest crumb that gets into our food, right, becomes an issue. So, but if you have it before Pesach, if you're owning it before Pesach, then anything that might be in there becomes batel, nullified, and therefore it is okay. Okay, number 4, unless an equivalent alternative is available, medicinal items which contain kitniot are permitted for people who are ill, right? Kitniot is a chumrah, is a stringency that we have, that the Ashkenazic community has taken on, right? But in case of someone who is ill, then it is allowed. Okay. Let's go back now and let's take apart our kitchen.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes,
Is this the guide that you're looking at so I can download it from online?
yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. I think I
Okay,
can get a PDF online. I was just double
good.
checking. Thank
Thank you.
you.
And Tara, if you have that, if you could post that on the chat, and that way
Okay.
anyone else who's online, right? Actually, if you
Yeah.
could post that
It,
on our group chat, and also if you could post it over here, and that way in case there is anybody who's, I think there are more people, I see there's 30, 40 people who watch this. I don't know how long
okay,
they stay on
perfect.
for. But if you post it in the chat, then that way also people online will be able to access that. Thank you, that's helpful. Just
Okay.
one other thing to
I'll look.
point you out on page 54. This is just interesting how the world is moving forward. There are many appliances which have a Shabbat mode on it. Okay, so now the OU has paired up with GE, and there is Shabbat mode. Okay, now how many people? Right, GE is a massive company making refrigerators for the world over. Why is it worth it for them to put in this Shabbat mode?
doesn't really cost them anything.
Yes. In other words, right now everything is so computerized and all these different systems that it's the same exact refrigerator. It's just an added feature that if you push these two buttons, then they program it that it will go into in my fridge and freezer. We push two buttons simultaneously for 3 seconds. It flashes Shabbat mode. And at that point, opening the door does not turn on any lights and also does not activate many other things. Now, if you find yourself stuck in a place, right? So it used to be easy to simply unscrew the light bulb, right? Now it's not so easy anymore. Now it's LED, all these things go on. But there is usually a pretty easy fix that you can do, and that is with a magnet. The way that the old-fashioned refrigerators had a little button, and that button would come out, the door's open, the button comes out, the light goes on. The door closes, the button gets pushed in, and the light goes off. So in the olden days, back in prehistoric times when I grew up, so simple, you just get a piece of duct tape and you tape that button in, and that way it always thinks the door is closed, and that way the light doesn't go on and off. It's rare to find those buttons anymore. Now it's mostly magnets. There's a magnet in the door, and there's a magnet right above, a magnet in the door. And when the door is closed, that magnetizes whatever is there in the panel, and that turns off the light. You open the door, it demagnetizes, and the light goes on. Okay? So if you buy a little magnet and you play with it a little bit, put it above the fridge, on top of the fridge, at that point over there, then it's getting magnetized and the light stays off. Okay? Even though there might be things going on internally when you're opening the door, right? As long as you are not aware of any of that, and you don't want it to happen, it's happening. In the world today, there's a lot happening. When you're walking and crossing the street, guess what? You're on candid camera, right? Wherever you go, right? Wherever you walk around, the main intersections, right? You're activating cameras that see you, right? Big brother Irvine, right? So, but right, we don't want it, we don't need it, we don't care about it, we don't want to know about it, and we walk to shul and we walk home. Okay, so but these enhanced Shabbat mode, right, are wonderful innovations. And when buying new appliances, right, that's what we did when we redid our kitchen about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, right? So the new appliance, when we got new appliances, we made sure that they have, now it's OU, many of them have the Star K. And actually, if you go to these like Pacific, whatever it is, uh, Pacific what? Yeah. So these companies that right, so they have all these brochures, and you'll see many of them have at least then had the Star K. Now I imagine it's the Star K and the OU. Okay. Nice stove. Okay. Let's go through our preparing the kitchen for Pesach, which is the big biggie. Okay, silverware, pots, other small items. Hagala, boiling in water. Rolled lips, seams, or cracks that cannot be cleaned will require torching of those areas. Okay, typically pots are pretty straightforward. Okay, and again, like I said last time, we don't need to go overboard, right? If you can buy a few new pots and have it for Pesach, great. If you need to kosher, also you can kosher. But let's keep in mind it is a total of 8 days. Okay, so we don't need to kill ourselves over there. Okay, Utensils should be immersed one at a time into a pot of boiling water that is on the fire. Okay, water should be allowed to return to a boil before the next item is placed in the pot. The pot can be non-Passover. Okay, it could be a non-Pesach pot that you're doing your koshering in, provided it is clean, has not been used for 24 hours, and therefore what? Hasn't been used for 24 hours, therefore what? Eino ben yomo is the term. It's not of the day. It's not within 24 hours. And therefore what? What do we gain by that? Well, anything that it might expel, anything that was absorbed, that it's now expelling, has become pagum, which means no potency. Okay? Now, once again, that's a leniency that we allow for prior to Pesach, prior to Passover, not on Passover itself. Therefore, you can't do Haggalah on Pesach. Why not? Because whatever is going to get expelled is going to come back in. So what are you accomplishing? But I might have 60 times the water versus the knife. Doesn't help on Pesach. But it hasn't been used in 24 hours. So it has lost its potency. Doesn't help on Pesach. Right? So then they also add, and water is first boiled in the pot and discarded. Okay. Even if one did not do that, we're still good to go. Larger items can be submerged in the water one part at a time. Okay? Meaning, unlike when we're putting things into the mikvah, right? There's toveling and there's koshering. Toveling, immersing a food item vessel in the mikvah, assuming it's not wood or plastic, which does not need immersion in the mikvah. So there, it needs to be in all at once. Here, it does not need to be in all at once. Let's say you might be using, let's say you want to lower a pot in and out, right? So you might be using, let's say, a large wrench, right? If you do that, you've got to adjust the grip because where it is grabbing that pot, so the water is not hitting there. So you need to slide it over. And that way, even though it's not happening all simultaneously, it does not need to be happening all simultaneously. If you have a knife, so you can stick it into the boiling hot water and do 51% of the knife, then turn it over, 51% of the knife. That way you know for sure it's been completely immersed, even though it was in 2 stages. What do you do with a pot? So a smaller pot, I immerse it into the boiling hot water of a larger pot. What do I do about the handle?
Which handle?
The handle of the smaller pot that I'm immersing in the larger pot, but I can't get that handle, right? I could turn it around, good. And if I can't for whatever reason, the handle I could use boiling hot water. Why? To pour it on. Why is boiling hot water good enough for the handle?
It doesn't interact with food when you're cooking.
Right. The general rule that we always have is kabolo kach polto. The way it absorbed, that's how it will expel. That's how it will expunge. Not a great word. That's how it will expunge from it. Right? So the pot itself was boiling hot water all along. Right? So therefore it needs to be immersed in boiling hot water. The handle, at worst, what happened? Something spilled on it. So what do? We spill on it. We pour boiling hot water onto it. How about the biggest pot you have?
You fill it with boiling water and drop a stone.
Good. Fill it to the top. Boiling hot water, drop in a stone, the water will spill out. Why is that good enough for the outer part of the pot? Same reason as the handle. Okay? Listen, this is interesting. There are 2 ways of looking at this. One issue is, well, but maybe when we cooked, any chametz flavor permeated that whole wall of the pot and went right to the outside. If that's the case, we're okay. Why are we okay? When we boil the water, what's the water going to do? It's going to permeate and go all the way to the outside. We don't discriminate. Outside, it goes to the outside. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you think that the chametz matzah ball soup went to the outside of the pot, fair enough. So does the water that you are boiling inside goes to the outside of the pot and expunges. You want to say, no, it doesn't go all the way through. So the chametz didn't go all the way through. So then the water will go in as far as the chametz went in. No, but there might have been spillage on the outside. Okay, so what do? When we drop in the rock, what happens? There's spillage on the outside, right? So we are reenacting, so to speak. Like bolo, like it absorbed, kach polto. That's how we will be expunged. Yes.
The same as like with the handle on a pot, you can pour boiling water on it. So if you have a really big pot, you don't want to throw a stone into it. And, you could maybe flip it over and pour boiling water on it in the sink.
No. We want to do the pull over. Why? Because we want to get the rims fully like that, right? Because the rims that really had. So yeah. Okay, hot water urn, water cooler. Okay, now typically your hot water urn was used for hot water. Erst, that's why it's called a hot water urn. Urn you only use for heating water. Run hot water through the water tap for 10 seconds while pouring boiling water from a kettle over the water tap. Okay? You understand what's happening over here? Right? The only issue is, maybe when I was doing my oatmeal or one of the kids had the oatmeal and had the hot water going in there, they had the oatmeal up, right? So we want to be careful in terms of the spigot, okay, over the water tap, right? If the urn is also used to warm food, then you would not want to use that for the holiday. Water cooler, right? So you want to pour some boiling water over the tap. Again, that's just because who knows what might have been in a cup that you were adding water into, and replace a water bottle. Use a fresh water bottle going into Pesach, like those 3 5-gallon water bottles. Yes, Gabrielle.
Would that be like reach, like the smell, or I'm sorry, like the aroma from the food kind of?
It could be even more than the aroma from the food. We're afraid it might have even touched it at some point. Okay, electric mixer, not recommended. Okay, let's go to the stove tops. Okay, Liebling, which means burning and cover. The stove top surface and grates should be cleaned well and not used for 24 hours. The stovetop surface should be covered with foil. The stovetop grates can be replaced, or they should be burned out in the oven at 550 for 1 hour. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit more lenient over here. Okay, right? Kabolo kach polto, right? So the grates, any food that gets onto them, what happens to that food?
Burns.
It gets burnt, right? So what we do with our grates is we take a piece of aluminum foil, fold it over a few times, put it on top, and then turn the grate on for a good 10, 12 minutes. Turn the fire on to the high for 10, 12 minutes, and that whole thing gets red hot, gets super hot. Anything that's on there is gone goodbye, right? And we're not putting food on that. We're just putting pots on that. Now, if you've got A glass stovetop, I don't recommend this. We shattered our glass stovetop doing this. I strongly don't recommend it. Okay, you want to be a little more careful with that. We'll see what they say about the glass stovetop. Now, some stovetops have the grates, and then you have all this open area over there. Okay, the open area that should be covered, right? If you've got grates that basically cover the entire area, so nothing is going down over there, so then it doesn't really have to be covered. There, you just want to clean it well, kosher your grates, and you are fine. Electric stovetop. Once again, Liebman burning and cover. The stovetop surface should be cleaned well, covered with foil, burners on until they glow red. When we were in Israel, one of our early years of marriage, I was teaching at the yeshiva, we had a whole bunch of guys over. So we had this little Israeli oven. So we went to this metal worker. There in Israel, they sell, for the size of the stovetop, a metal piece that goes on top and has its own grates, has cutout area for the fire and its own grates. So that's beautiful. It goes right on top. So we had that, and we bought another piece to use as our blech. We almost died. The Seder's going on, and we had a whole bunch of guys over, and we were planning on staying up the whole night. And by the time the Seder finished, we're all feeling a little bit woozy. I thought maybe it was the wine, whatever. So I said, the guys went back to the yeshiva. Natalie and I went to sleep. The kids went to sleep. The kids' door was closed. Our door was open a little bit. And we're starting to feel really sick. And Baruch Hashem, Natalie woke up in the middle of the night and just went and opened up a window. The next morning, we were so sick that Natalie literally crawled to one of our neighbors. It wasn't crawling outside. We were in an apartment, right? And knocked on the door and said, "Help, call the doctor," right? And the doctor came and saw that there was some sort of a chemical reaction between that blech piece and the pieces of the stovetop that we had bought. And it was giving off a noxious fume. Yeah. So we just took that blech off, aired out the apartment, went to friends for a few hours, and then we were feeling fine. Now and I were really sick. The kids were okay. The door was closed. But be careful. Be careful with these sort of things. Yeah. That's why, just use your stovetop that came. Just clean it really well. Get it really, really hot. And let's stay safe. Let's stay alive. Glass stovetop cannot be koshered and must be covered. Okay? The stovetop surface. Okay? So the glass stovetop is just one sheet of glass. And you have that areas that get super hot. So the areas, right? So there's no way to really kosher that. During Pesach, pots should not be placed directly on the stove surface. Rather, an aluminum or other metal disc should be placed directly under the pot. The entire glass top surface should not be covered. This might cause it to overheat and crack. Yes, that does happen. I can assure you that does happen. Okay? But if the stovetop is cleaned and not used for 24 hours and then not covered, and then, right, so then you've done whatever you can do. Sure,
Does
Ariel.
this also apply to a hot plate that's glass?
Yeah.
That you can just clean it well, cover it with aluminum foil, and then use it for Pesach?
If you can cover it with aluminum foil, then you would. I know the metal hot plates. Do they have any hot plates over here? No.
I mean, the hot plate should be covered already with aluminum, right?
Yeah, we mentioned that last time.
Yeah.
Good practice, cover with aluminum. That way, when it spills, you just throw out the aluminum instead of having to try to get those things out. Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it also for like, you can switch between dairy and non-dairy?
That would allow you to do that. Yeah, yeah. The truth is, if you're not putting the food directly on it, so then, I could use the same stovetop for a meat pot and then for a dairy pot,
Yeah.
right? So the same thing would also apply to a hot plate. You want to play it safer, you can have that. Yeah. Okay. Self-cleaning ovens. What a blessing those are. We love self-cleaning ovens. Right? Remove any visible food. Complete self-cleaning cycle with racks in place. What a pleasure. Non-self-cleaning oven. Okay? Clean all surfaces, walls, floor, doors, racks, thoroughly with a caustic cleaner like an Easy Off. Pay special attention. Thermostat, open window, okay. Okay. Oven not used for 24 hours. Then place racks in the oven. Turn the oven to broil the highest heat for 60 minutes. Okay. A broiler pan that comes directly in use with the food should not be used. Why is that enough for the oven? Why is cleaning it well and turning it up to the highest temperature, why is that enough? Kabolo kachpolto. However it went in, that's how it goes out, right? I wasn't, right? If you go to the shuk in Israel, you see when they're making pita, right? They're taking the pita, the dough, and they're putting it up against the walls of the oven, right? That's the old Middle Eastern way, right? That's not what we do with our ovens, right? Right? We don't have food going directly against the oven. All we have is, right, heat, reyach, aroma, whatever it might be, that will have gone, right, from the food into the walls. So we heat it up to the highest temperature, and whatever went in the first time is going to be going in again now. Kibolo kach polto. The way bolea is to absorb, it's swallowed, however it absorbed, kach polto. That's how it will be expunged. Note the method is based on the ruling of Aaron Kotler. Rav Moshe Zatzal ruled that must either be kosher the blowtorch or an insert should be placed in the oven. Consult your rabbi for guidance. Right, the way of the world is to follow this way of Aaron Kotler. Like we said, clean it really well. Highest temperature, 60 minutes, and good to go. And this is something also, you go into an Airbnb, right? And I'm talking about Pesach now. I'm talking whenever, right? Kashrut does not mean that one cannot travel and have wonderful times and wonderful, wonderful experiences. Natalie and I love to travel, right? You go to Airbnb, if it has a self-cleaning oven, beautiful. If not, then you clean it, right? You don't have to go crazy cleaning it. You cook it up to the highest temperature. You put things in there that are covered, and you're fine. Okay. Sinks, counters. Let's go. Let's take a look at sinks, and then we'll jump over to. Okay, we'll move straight across over here. Okay. Stainless steel sink. If you've got that, that's great. Eroy, pouring boiling water. Remove drain. Recommended the drain be replaced. If this is difficult, it may be used if the drain has large holes that can be completely scrubbed clean. Not very big deal to replace the little drain that goes in over there, typically. It is preferable to kosher a sink by pouring boiling water in conjunction with an even milubenet, a heated stone. In lieu of kosher with a heated stone, some will place a rack on the bottom of the sink or use a sink insert. or you could also just use boiling water without the stone. Okay? Ceramic sink cannot be koshered and must be covered. Sink should not be used with hot water for 24 hours. Should be completely clean and dry, covered with layers of contact paper or foil. It is best to purchase a sink insert. Right? When we would go, when there's a long Chol Hamoed, so the Ciner family would go on a number of amazing trips over the years, different places, get a big Airbnb, and we wouldn't use the oven at all. We would just end up just bringing. We have a Pesach George Foreman. We have a Pesach toaster oven, and we have crock pots, and that was fine for us. We just cover the counters and cover the sink with aluminum foil, and we were good to go. But that's if you're going to be in a place for a couple of days, if you're at home, right? So it's good to have an insert, or like we said, if you have a stainless steel sink, so then you kosher that. The sink faucet, including instant hot, right? So you would just pour boiling water over that faucet. Okay? No big deal. The countertop. Okay. Stainless steel, granite, composite stone, quartz, or formica countertops. Eroy, pour boiling water or covering. It is preferable to kosher a countertop by pouring boiling water, once again, in conjunction with this Evan Milubenet, with this hot stone. We don't do that. Natalie and I do not do that. We use boiling hot water over, and what we do, it's a bit of a big job, but we take those cheap plastic tablecloths and we tape it under the counter, and that way, otherwise your cabinets are going to get absolutely soaked. Okay, and yeah, I always say, is it really worth doing this? And because I'm the lazier one, Natalie says it is worth doing it, and I think one year when we didn't do it, I learned it was worth doing it. So
Quick question.
I've been humbled. Yes.
What about taping shut the microwave?
Let's come to microwave soon, Dov. Okay? So you pour boiling hot water over, and that's how you kosher it. If it's ceramic tile countertops, right, the original countertop in our house, before we changed it over, I think many of the houses here, the original way it was made was with ceramic tile countertops, cannot be koshered and must be covered. 1 second. If it can't be koshered, so what do you do all year round when you move into a house here in University Park with a ceramic tile countertop?
You don't cut directly on the countertop.
Okay, so well, you don't want to have hot food going directly onto the countertop. Typically, we don't have food going directly on the countertop. We use cutting boards, we use plates, we use different things. And let's say a hot piece of meat would fall onto that ceramic countertop that you just bought from the Smiths. What's the status of that meat?
Good.
Why is it good, Dove? Because I like meat. Meat's good. The reason why it would be good, b'di eved, right? Right? Ideally, we would want that to happen. But as Gabriella said, Eino ben Yomo, meaning unless the Smith family, within 24 hours of their moving out and you moving in, within the 24-hour period, they had some hot pig on the counter, and now you've got your hot bareka on the counter. Short of that happening, b'di'eved, we are okay, because once it's Eino ben Yomo, then we're good. Oh, if that's the case, so what's the problem on Pesach? Because on Pesach, even though it's Eino ben Yomo, which means it hasn't been used in 24 hours, we're strict on that which is expelled, even though normally we say it has no potency. On Pesach, It does. Okay?
So Rabbi, after you do your countertops, do you also put foil down?
No.
or-
No,
Alright.
no, we do not. Okay, let's move up a little bit to Dove's microwave over there. You see that? Okay, microwave.
That's what it's a little.
Hagala, boiling in water for those who kosher plastic. Okay, what are we going to do over here?
Yeah.
The microwave must be cleaned well and not used for 24 hours. Glass turntables should be removed and replaced with new kosher for Passover surface. Okay? We just don't use the microwave on Pesach. What I found, I opened the door and they got the cracks over there, and we just don't use it. But one could, right? Cleaned well, not used 24 hours. Replace. Typically, you'll be able to go online and see what model you have and order a replacement glass turntable, right? And replace that. Styrofoam cups should be filled with water, boiled in the microwave for 10 minutes, right? The cup should be refilled, moved to another spot, process repeated for 10 more minutes. Cardboard or contact paper should be taped over the glass window pane for the duration of Pesach. Like I said, right? We just don't use the microwave for Pesach. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah. What we would do if we had the need for a microwave, I think usually I think for between $30 and $50, you could buy a microwave, a little microwave, right? Yeah, but whatever. Dishwashers, okay? Koshering of dishwashers is a complicated process and should only be done in consultation with halachic authority. We don't kosher our dishwasher. We buy lots of plastic. For the Seder, right, Costco has very, very fancy plastic, right? Yeah. You want it to be a nice, enjoyable Yom Tov. And there's a certain um, there's always going to be a lot of washing and stuff that needs to be done. So let's do our best to minimize that, right? Okay, anybody with a green idea who's angry with me, what can I say, right? But for these 8 days, right? Yeah, that's what we do. We use a lot of it's always funny because by the time, let's say this year, oh gosh, it's going to be something. Yeah, the garbage pickup won't be until Friday after Pesach, right? I used to do, I should turn off the recording over here. I used to do late night the night before, and we had a neighbor, her name was Betty, passed away, sweet, sweet woman. So not a Jewish woman, she lived by herself, didn't have all that much trash there. So at night, once her garbage cans were out, I would do some nighttime deposits into her trash can. Right, the Irvine police never once caught me. Right, into her. It gets a little bit tricky. Kanai, we've got everyone coming for Pesach, which is over 20 people. So it's going to be a lot of garbage accumulated. Wow. I've actually gotten in there and jumped on it to try to compress it down over there. Not the most dignified of positions I put myself in, but it worked. It was effective. So okay, let's look at tables, a refrigerator, freezers, food shelves, pantries. Clean and cover. These areas should be thoroughly cleaned, paying special attention to the edges where crumbs may get trapped. The surfaces should be lined with paper or plastic, right? Note, refrigerators and freezers will operate more efficiently if they are poked in the lining to allow airflow. So we don't cover the shelves of our fridge and freezer. What we do is we basically take everything out, the shelves, everything out. We put it into a bathtub with some bleach in there, and then make sure it's clean. There, that way, anything that might still be there we didn't see is going to become completely inedible, and then we put it all back. And I try to remember exactly what levels to put the shelves. That's another story. And we don't cover, right? There's no heat obviously here. The only issue is that there might be something there. So as long as you make sure that there is nothing there, then you are okay. Okay, I mentioned before, food shelves, pantries. What we do just to make life a lot easier is we don't empty out cabinets, right? We've had stories, months afterwards trying to find things. Where did we put it? Where did that go? We don't empty cabinets. We have these plastic shelving racks from Keter. Actually, you buy it in Lowe's or Home Depot. I think it's an Israeli company, Keter, and we stack them up, put them away during the year, take them out. It's just shelves, 4 poles, shelf, 4 poles, build them up. We have a bunch of those. All of our pots and pans, all of our food, all of our stuff goes on that. And that way we don't have to start cleaning out shelves and covering shelves. It's just a lot easier. Baby high chair. Those don't get messy. Covered. The tray should be covered with contact paper. The seats, legs, and bars should be wiped down with a soapy rag. Okay? Tables. Covered. Although wooden tables can be kashered, the common custom is to clean tables well and then cover them. Okay? So that makes sense, right? Right? There's no boiling food that was put onto the table. Clean it well, and you can cover it. Yes.
So, Rabbi, I have a glass over my table. Can I pour water over that?
Yeah.
Clean the table well, and then
Yeah.
pour water over that. Still
Yeah.
keep it.
Yep, you can. Yes. Okay, tablecloths, kitchen gloves, aprons, other fabric items. Okay, fabric items can be koshered, so to speak, by washing them with detergent in a washing machine set on hot. Items should be checked to make sure no pieces of food remain attached. You don't need to buy new dish towels for Pesach. You wash your towels and you can use them. You wash your tablecloths and you can use them. What we do all year round, not as much. On Pesach, what we do is we cover the tablecloths with one of those disposable plastics. Not so much because we're concerned, not that we're concerned about the tablecloth, but just that way after the meal, right? Kids, things spill like that. You just roll up the tablecloth, throw it out, and you've got a clean tablecloth and put another plastic on top, and you are good to go. Okay, I think we've gone through that kitchen. Okay, good. We're having, Natalie and I are running a Seder here the second night of Pesach. So Pesach is going to be a Seder Wednesday night and a Seder Thursday night. We are running a Seder here Thursday night. All are welcome to join us for that Seder. All are welcome to join us. Okay. Yes,
I just have
Esther.
a question, maybe a little off topic. So who does all the koshering for the kitchen and
Here,
here?
Ilana Baumgarten.
Oh, she does.
Yeah, does the
That sounds
kashing
like
for
a
the
lot.
kitchen. So this week we're going to have a regular kiddush. Next week we're going to be having a deli non-cooked kiddush, and that way the kitchen will be, she could start even before Shabbos on what she needs to do, and so that's how we do that, and we don't really use the kitchen much over Pesach. We don't kosher the ovens, right? The kiddushes that we serve on Pesach is we buy from OC Kosher. it's cakes, and it is fruit platters, cakes and fruit, right? So we don't have the day lunch meal, the day meal here at shul. Nor Shalashudis will have usually something. People just bring some matzah and some jam. Nothing too extensive. The only real meal that's served here is the Seder night, the second Seder night, and that we have catered by Vivian Hutz, and she'll use the kitchen as a little bit. The kitchen might be used a little bit as a staging ground, but basically everything's coming in aluminum pans and is getting heating up on chafing dishes. Right, so the kitchen is cleaned and kosher, the sinks and stuff like that, but it's not koshered as if we'll be cooking in there. We will not be. All right. Everybody have a safe swim home. Gosh, this has been kind of nutty. Okay, good night, everybody. Good seeing you. Rose, Tara, Jackie, Simone, and Leticia. Okay, guys.
Good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
Bye.
Line. All righty. Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.